In this lesson, we are going to discuss the origin of resistivity and its variation with temperature. So let's first take a look at how current flows inside a conductor. Suppose initially the conductor is connected to a voltage source, but the switch is off, which means that V is equal to 0 across the conductor. Now you know that if V is equal to 0, then you know that the electric field inside the conductor is also 0 everywhere. See, this relation is true because V is equal to E times L, where L is the length of this conductor, V is the potential difference and E is the electric field. Now over here, if the electric field is 0, the current is 0. So we are saying that if V is 0, so I is 0, which seems to be perfectly fine, that if the potential across the conductor is 0, then the current is 0. But suppose we take a look inside the conductor, what do you expect to find? Do you think all the charges are at rest inside the conductor since the current is 0? No, that's not true at all. Inside the conductor, let's say the conductor is aluminium or copper. Now you have free electrons which are moving in completely random directions. These electrons have a very high velocity of about 10 to the power 6 meters per second, and they are moving around like molecules in a gas, but actually with much higher speed than molecules of a gas. But still there is no current through the conductor. So why is there no current in spite of the fact that the electrons are all moving and at such high velocities? That is because this motion is completely random. So suppose this electron started from this position, say this is P1, and after some time it is at P2. The electrons have not moved in any direction. They are not getting anywhere. They are moving at extremely high velocities, but still they are not traversing the length of the conductor. They are not moving from one end to the other. So the current is 0 in this case. Next, let us connect the voltage source. So the switch is on, and now we have a current through the conductor. Now let's see what happens in this case. So V is not equal to 0. E, which is equal to V over L, is also not equal to 0, which means we have an electric field present inside this conductor now. So due to this electric field, the charges are going to experience a force, and that force is given by Q times E, and since these are electrons, the force will be in a direction opposite to the electric field. So what we are saying is V is not 0, so E, which is equal to V by L, is also not 0. So if this is not 0, which means the electrons are experiencing a force, and you know from Newton's second law that force is going to produce an acceleration, which is given by F over m, since F is equal to ma, which is Newton's second law. So this means the electrons are going to accelerate. Now if the electrons are going to accelerate, so they should acquire high velocities in the direction of the electric field. In a direction opposite to the electric field, because the force will be in the opposite direction. So they should acquire very high velocities, and this would be the case if these electrons were present in vacuum. So if these electrons were present in vacuum, they would be attaining extremely high velocities. But remember that the electron is moving inside the conductor, and inside the conductor they are massive and almost stationary positive ions which are present. These are the free electrons, so these are the positive ions of that atom. Now as they try to accelerate, they hit an ion. So if an electron moves in this direction, it hits an ion. Then it moves off in this direction and say an ion is present here, it hits it. Then it moves in this direction, it hits an ion. So as it tries to accelerate, it hits an ion and it gets deflected in a random direction. The motion of the electron is still completely random, except that it has a small drift velocity and it keeps shifting slightly in the direction opposite to the electric field. Since the electric field was in this direction and the charges are negative, so they keep drifting slightly in this direction. So you can think of this as something like, say, we have a toy car which is placed over here on an inclined plane. This is a slight incline, though I've maybe taken a little larger incline. And you have a toy car which is present over here. Now, as the toy car moves on this plane, the plane over here, as the toy car moves, you have a number of boulders, rocks which are present. Now the toy car tends to move from, say, A to B because it experiences a force in this direction, but if it keeps hitting these boulders, it can't move in a straight line. It keeps getting deflected in random directions, but still it will keep rolling downwards. So the same thing happens in case of electrons. The electrons will experience a force. Let us say that this is the direction of the electric field, which means they'll experience a force in the opposite direction, so their paths will get slightly shifted. So instead of this point, you have their point, they'll be over here. Instead of this, they are a little to the right, so they are here. Instead of this, they are a little to the left, so they are here. So which means the path of the electron is now like this. It is still random, but the electron is drifting in this direction with a small velocity which is called the drift velocity. Now that drift velocity is extremely small, that's just 10 to the power minus 4 meters per second. Say this car was rolling down, it's moving at a very high velocity, it's moving at a velocity of 10 to the power 6 meters per second in all these directions. But you can also see that it is rolling downwards, and the speed with which it is rolling down is 10 to the power minus 4 meter per second, and that is its drift velocity. Now since the electrons have a drift velocity, since they are moving in this direction, so we have a current which is flowing because there is a net flow of charge in a particular direction. So the current in this case is not zero. Now let's write the expression for this current. The current I through the conductor can be written as I is equal to NE times V, which is the drift velocity. See, because the current is the charge flowing per unit time, and you can see that the charge which is present within a conductor of length equal to Vd, the cross-sectional area is A. So the charges which are present within this volume would flow across an imaginary area in 1 second. So the total charge present in this volume is A times V is the volume of this conductor, N is the number density, N is the number of charges per unit volume, N is the number of charges per unit volume. This is just the number, and each charge has and each of these charges is an electron. So this is the total charge which is present within this volume and which is flowing across this imaginary area in 1 second. So the current I is given by NEA times V, the drift velocity. Now let's write the expression for this velocity. You know that V is equal to U plus AT. In this case, since the electrons are experiencing a force, they are getting accelerated. So we've used this equation of motion. But the average velocity of the electron, this average velocity of the electrons initially before the field is applied, is zero, because the electrons are not really getting anywhere. They're not moving in any direction, though they have extremely high velocities. So this velocity would be zero. The acceleration is given by F over m, and you know that the magnitude is E over m times t. T would be tau. See, tau is the relaxation time. Tau is the relaxation time, which is the time between two successive collisions. These electrons are going to continuously experience collisions, and the time between two successive collisions is tau, and that is the time when the particle will accelerate. So the drift velocity comes out to be the acceleration times tau, the relaxation time. So now we are going to substitute this value over here for the velocity, and so we can write the current as NEA times, and this is EE by m times tau. Next we have another quantity which is called the current density, and the current density is the current over area. So that would be NE, and you have this square. Now you already know that the current density J, which is the current per unit area, is the conductivity times the electric field. See, there are quite a few of these expressions that we are using, and in case you are not familiar with any of them, if you don't know these definitions, say for the current density or the relation between V and E, etc., I suggest you go back, learn these, and then come back again and look at this lesson. Maybe you'll enjoy it more. So J is equal to sigma times E. So J can be written, so the conductivity sigma can be written as, which is J over E. So this is N E square tau over m, and finally you know that the resistivity is the reciprocal of conductivity. More the conductivity, less the resistivity, more the resistivity, less the conductivity. So the resistivity is m over N E square tau, and this is the expression that we wanted to derive, this final expression. See, it is not difficult to understand the variation of resistivity with temperature. If you take a look at this expression, when the temperature increases, then the kinetic energy of the electrons is going to increase, which means their motion becomes more random. As it becomes more random, the collisions will be more frequent. And if the collisions are more frequent, the time between two collisions will decrease. So if the time between two collisions decreases, that means the relaxation time, which is the time between two collisions, is going to decrease. And if this time decreases, the resistivity will obviously increase. Hence, in case of metals, the resistivity increases with the increase in temperature. In case of metals, the resistivity increases with the increase in temperature. But something different happens in case of semiconductors. Now, my question for you is, can you tell me why does the resistivity of a semiconductor decrease with the increase in temperature? If temperature increases, the resistivity decreases in case of semiconductors. The hint is, I want you to take a look at the expression for rho, the resistivity, and see which of these factors might be changing in case of semiconductors apart from the relaxation time tau.